Let's end this hour with our series Flipping the Script, featuring people on air, on stage, and behind the scenes who are shining a spotlight on diversity. Enter Kit Williamson, the actor, writer, and director. Might be best known for his Emmy-nominated digital series Eastsiders, about a couple trying to navigate life. Well, now he's starring in the new series Unconventional, which focuses on a pair of queer siblings and their partners navigating family life. And we are lucky to have Kit with us live in studio this morning. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
So Unconventional, what should people know about it? What was sort of the focus of this project for you?
Well, Unconventional is a dark comedy about two eccentric queer siblings and their significant others trying to start an unconventional family, where my character will be the sperm donor to his sister's girlfriend, if that makes sense.
Yes. Did you know anyone who had that experience, or were you pulling...
Actually, yes. Multiple people. You'd be surprised.
Right. I've heard it before, too, I think, so, yeah.
And queer people, you know, they have to kind of chart their own course in this life in terms of family planning and just in terms of life in general. And I think there's a real beauty to that, as well as challenges.
You have some really fun people who make appearances in this special. I mean, were you pinching yourself over some of the folks who agreed to star in this?
Are you kidding? Absolutely. I mean, Kathy Griffin, Beau Bridges, Willem, and our core cast is incredible. They're all openly queer actors playing these roles authentically, and it's so cool to get to see them all work.
You recently said in an interview with Variety that Unconventional isn't about politics, but, quote, unfortunately, our lives have been politicized. Talk more about what you mean by that.
So it's really about visibility, right? If you can exist in public spaces, if you can be authentically and openly yourself without repercussion, I don't see that that is a political thing, but unfortunately, that is something people are trying to make political. As RuPaul says, every time you get in drag, it's a political act. I think every time you walk down the street holding your husband's hand, that's a political act too.
When we were younger, or at least when I was younger, there weren't shows like this. There was no shows that I could watch or anything like that. What is the power, do you feel, of having a show like Unconventional on the air when it comes especially to younger people who are seeking LGBTQ+ representation?
Growing up gay in Mississippi, I didn't know anybody like me. I didn't see anybody like me on television. And it was really life-changing when I started to see myself reflected in stories. It helped me envision a future where I could be happy, where I could find a husband, a partner in this life, and, you know, live my life as myself and be accepted and loved for it. I think that's the power of storytelling.
And honest storytelling, right? I mean, you talk about things that might be considered taboo by some, but for you, is it important to go there?
Absolutely. It's a dark comedy. At the end of the day, I'm more interested in exploring the mess of life and how you navigate challenges and hardships than just painting a rosy picture.
So especially in this time we're in right now, for people who see the show, what do you hope they take away from it?
I hope that people take away that you have the freedom in this world to live your life authentically and truthfully, and nobody can take that away from you.
You've talked about how with Eastsiders, you created that because you weren't seeing big networks tell these kinds of stories. Has that changed since then? What are you seeing now on some of these bigger platforms?
We've made such incredible strides over the last 10 years in terms of representation. But unfortunately, if you look at the last 4 years, the GLAAD Media Report, we've seen that representation nosedive on network television, streaming, and cable. And that's not even to say whether or not that representation is substantive. You know, it's one thing to be in the story. It's another thing to be at the center of it and really have your truth explored.
Which is one of, I think, the biggest fights is sort of over the years. You're like, oh, you see an LGBTQ+ character, but they're like, you know, the side character who sort of plays maybe a stereotype, and they're not the heart of the show.
Right, you're a bystander to the action. We want to let queer characters be the center of the story.
What do you think it's going to take to change that and increase those numbers?
You know, I think that people need to understand that it's not a fluke when these shows succeed. Everybody always acts surprised whenever a show that's really centered around any sort of marginalized or less represented person succeeds, be it queer people, people of color, or even women. Hollywood always acts shocked that people come out and it's the #1 movie in America when you have a story that centers female characters. But it happens time and time and time again. So I think we just need to get to a place where we're not surprised by it.
Kit Williamson, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. And Unconventional is now streaming on Reverie. We appreciate it. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now, but don't go anywhere. The news continues right now.